Have radio comms here. Well, while I try to figure out what's happening with the comms, there's a vulture for you to look at. Hello, white-backed by the looks of things. Yes, white-backed vulture. A bit bigger than the birds we've been looking at so far. So, sitting there, not looking too full, but maybe they've caught, so maybe it's had some luck today. But not enjoying the wind so much. Oh, it seems like we have our communication back with final control. So while we hope for another spotted cat on our way home, let's hope Jamie's leopard decides to come out of the thickets. Let's go see how close she is.
I'm nearly there. So I absolutely believe that our cheetah, nonsense I'm talking, that our leopard will pop out of the bushes, out of the thicket, and we'll have a chance to spend some time with the Mara leopard properly. Doesn't often happen. We get it every now and again. It's not because the leopards are less numerous here. A lot of them are just as relaxed as they are in the sands, but it's just one of those things that they're harder to find. It's this massive open space. You'd think we'd find them, but they're so good at keeping themselves hidden. And we're nearly there. I can see the gruesome, grisly remains of the giraffe carcass. Let's go and find out. I don't see any sign of Mr. out yet. He's not feeding, at least. Come on, boy. Please come out and say hello to us. I really want to see how big he is as well. Okay. Nice and slow approach. Low range. Keeping our revs down a little bit, just to make sure we don't disturb him. I still don't know this leopard. He seems perfectly relaxed. Let's hope he's still there. How tragic would it be if he was gone? Hello, boy. Oh, awesome. He's out. He's out. Okay, let me get us into a place where we can see him. Unfortunately, straight into the sun, but he should be okay because he's shaded nicely. Hello, mister. It's a pleasure to meet you. I wonder if you have a name. Go forward a fraction. Okay, make sure I don't get between him and his giraffe meal. There we go. He's very kindly come out of the dense vegetation for us. There he is. There you go. In the middle there. Hello, mister. Cool. Oh, big yawn. That's a good sign. It means there's a good chance that he's going to start getting up and moving towards the carcass. Yellowish teeth. Big male. If I had to try and, I mean, it's been a while since I've last seen Tingana, but if I had to try and compare the two, I think I would say he's a bit smaller than Tingana, but still a fair-sized boy. Big, thick, muscular neck. Still panting heavily. Hello, mister. Kathy, there are slight differences with cheetah territories and leopard territories. So essentially, male cheetah are territorial. Their territories are biggie, another big yawn. He's definitely thinking about getting up. Now essentially, a male cheetah territory is massive when you compare it to that of a leopard. And that's just due to numbers. There are more leopards than there are cheetah. And of course cheetah bands together in those coalitions, whereas a male leopard will be solitary. Female cheetah don't really have a territory. They have a home range, an area that they spend a lot of time in, but their home ranges are so massive to the point that they're almost nomadic. Lots of screenshots, everyone. Great opportunity for us to figure out who he is and get to know him. Very pale eyes. Bottle green. A stunning opportunity here. The female cheetah don't really have territories, whereas a female leopard absolutely does. So she has a territory that she defends. She defends it against other females, not other males. Hello and welcome. And yes, for those of you that have just joined us, Faith tells me we've got a few that have just hopped on board. This is indeed the male leopard that took down the baby giraffe, and he's hoisted it into a tree. When he gets up, we'll have a chance to have a look at it. At the moment, it's right into the sun, so it's going to be very, very tricky to have a look at. But this is the best place for us to see him. But yes, this is the male leopard that has, I suspect, there we go, he's up. Yoga stretch. Hey, big boy. Yeah. Almost Tingana size, but not quite. I was about to say, I wonder what he's going to do now. I probably should have predicted that. Full belly of giraffe. I don't know whether any of you remember this, but it's popped up on my Facebook from a year ago. The TV show that we still talk about to this day as one of our more disastrous ones. The only sighting that we had was Tingana on, I've forgotten what it's called, Simabili. Where are we off to? I thought you were going to go to your giraffe. Or were you going to go hide back in the thicket? Don't do that. Come on, mister. Now I'm going to, until I get to know this leopard better, I'm going to give him a little bit of space in terms of following him. So let's just see what he decides to do. Oh yes, the amazing TV show that we did, that was Tingana on Simbambili, about 200 odd yards away from our vehicle where we could sit on the main road. And he didn't move for the entirety of the TV show. All sorts of things went wrong. We had lots of gremlins attacking us. Oh, he's magnificent, isn't he? And Tingana got up and deposited a very large pile of scat next to my car. And flop next to his giraffe. Isn't he stunning in this afternoon light? Really lovely opportunity. Sinak, I'd have to guess at how heavy he is. If I had to guess, I would put him somewhere around the 75 kilogram mark, possibly up to 80. I think that, no, let's say 80, because I would say if Tingana is around about 90 kilograms of leopard. But I mean, bear in mind that it will be changed tremendously by whether or not the leopard's in good condition, if it's full bellied. There's all sorts of things that will change a leopard's weight. But I would guess at around the 80 kilogram mark, possibly a bit more. If Tingana is around about 90, Anderson is around about 95, maybe 100 kilograms. We don't really know because we haven't had the opportunity to anesthetize and weigh the leopards. Is that a scar behind your ear? Looks like it might be, actually. A little indent that seems just a fraction deeper than it should be for a normal join of the ear. Very clearly identifiable leopard. If we see him again, if we get to know him properly, which would be very special, we'll be able to recognize him almost immediately. that beautiful tail flicking. A lovely comparison with the cheetah. Joy, again a guess, judging by the condition of his teeth. They're quite yellowed. They're not too worn though. I'm going to put him somewhere in the region of around about 7 or 8. He's definitely a male leopard in his prime. Usually male leopards can start to compete for territories perhaps around 5 years old. Look, there's situations where male leopards have had territories at an earlier age. That's because the circumstances have created that kind of situation. But I would put him at 7 or 8, but it's difficult for me without knowing him. He's got tatty ears. He doesn't look that young to me. Big, thick, well-developed neck. What I'll do is I'll try and find out for you, but I'm not sure that necessarily anybody would actually know the answer. The people who were with us earlier have got the same idea. They've also come to see if he's come out. Kestrel fox, not as far as I know. I don't think that the Panthera DNA project has extended to here yet. I mean, never say never. I'm sure it's going to happen at some point. But as far as I know, the paternity and genetic testing is not done by Panthera in the Mara. And basically, for our new viewers, in South Africa, we all drive around with vials, and we collect leopard scat as we go along. And that leopard scat goes off to Panthera, and they analyze it. There's the dangly giraffe above his head. Is he going to go and feed on it? It would be something extraordinary if he does. If he does move up towards the tree, I will reposition, and we'll go and get a better view with better light. So we collect leopard scat. They then analyze it and test it, and they analyze the DNA. The results, as far as I know, I have of course been out of the country for 6 months, but the results, as far as I know, are still not out. It could be another year or more before that study is released to the public, but it's a way of determining paternity in particular, because it's very easy to know who the mother of a cub is. Obviously, you know, that's pretty clear. She's with them all the time. She suckles them, she looks after them, she fetches them, takes them to a kill. So it's almost guaranteed that you can work out who mom is, but it's very difficult to get to work out exactly who dad is. And one of the things that they're looking at is just how often, because it's a natural assumption that the dominant male leopard of an area is the father of the cubs, but just how often that there are exceptions to that. So because a female leopard will mate with as many males as she can if she can. It's a way of convincing them that they're the father and keeping her cubs safe. So essentially she's trying to fool the males into thinking that the cubs are theirs, and it works very well, but it'd be interesting to know exactly how often it works. Harsh Patel, a female leopard, there are cases of female leopards in the wild recorded living up to 18 years old, possibly even 20 in extraordinary cases. That's unusual. Those are exceptions. You're looking for a female leopard, 15, 16, they're starting to get really weak, their teeth are worn down, their senses are not what they used to be. A male leopard, like most male predators out here, will have a slightly shorter life expectancy because they're larger and there's more competition. Their fights tend to be more aggressive, more brutal, and often they're killed in that sort of a way. So you're looking at a life expectancy for a male around about 12, 13 years. That, of course, there are exceptions to that. There are leopards that live longer. It's more of a sort of a rough estimate as to how long a leopard can expect to live. I'm going to reposition, I think, and I'm going to go around these chaps, and I'm going to go where the sun is shining in a different way. Just see how he responds to the car. Looks at us, but no sign of anxiety, no sign of discomfort. Big yawn, he's going to get up again. Let's get ourselves into a good place. So when a leopard yawns or licks its feet, big cat actually, it's often often a precursor to movement. Thank you, mister, but I'm going round you. Oh, a squeaky steering wheel. So I'm going to try and stay out of the line of their photographs so that they don't have a photograph of a leopard with me in it. But at the same time, I know our shadow's in the way. Oh, mister, your face is right behind a bush. Oh, it's so awkward. I'm just going to do some shuffling around while I find us a good spot to look at him and be able to see him when he climbs the tree. Let's go back to Brent, who's on his journey back home.
Oh, and a beautiful journey it is. We're what I like to call ridge riding. So we're sitting... Oh, hello, Howard. So you never know what's around the next corner out here, including what I thought from a distance was a log, till the log put its head up. Hello. A very happy looking hyena. You very seldom see a skinny hyena in the Mara. Who did you steal from last night? Lovely light on that hyena there. It seems like Jamie's leopard's quite lucky. It hasn't garnered any hyena attention just yet below the tree. Now, that is a really, really special sighting to have a leopard with a giraffe kill, and I've only ever seen it once in the Sabi Sands, believe it or not. And of course, we've all seen a leopard that we know has lifted a giraffe up into a tree back in South Africa, and that is, of course, Mr. Anderson. Oh, hyena's gone to sleep. He's decided we're boring, but we're going to keep going. As I say, you never know. Miale was last seen sort of about 2 kilometers that way, but she doesn't really, in my experience, I haven't seen her a lot that side, so I'm hoping she's maybe come down towards this area. So that's why I'm driving this particular road on the ridges here, so I can see long distance, because if she is hungry, she's going to get moving at about this time of the day. Okay, now, often when you see giraffe in the distance and it looks like they're eating grass, but of course, giraffe don't like grass. What they're actually eating is these acacias, and when the grass is long, you can't even see them. You can see there, so that's what the giraffe's after when it looks like they're eating grass. There are these very low acacias growing not everywhere, but in certain parts of the Mara. Okay, there we go. Nice. Don't want to stand on that when you're not wearing any shoes. Now, Sinak's wondering, what is the weirdest thing I've seen on safari? The weirdest thing I've ever seen on safari is James Hendry. Definitely, without a doubt. James Hendry is the weirdest thing I've seen on safari. Oh, but quickly back to Jamie and the leopard.
Our leopard is up, and there's a chance he's looking at his kill. There's a very, very good chance he's going to go up the tree now. And of course, because I've put us here, he's going to go up the other side of the tree. It's just one of those inevitabilities. But he's definitely looking at it. So I think this is the shepherd tree male, because I think Taylor's spent some time with him, and I think Brent has spent some time with him as well. I think this is who this is. Ah. Ha. You're just playing a game with me, mister, after all that. And I told Faith to link to us and everything. And you just decided you wanted to sit down for a little bit longer. Not quite ready for the explosion of energy necessary to get yourself from the bottom of the tree to the top. This is extraordinary. You really don't get to see many giraffes in trees. Leopard giraffe kills are very, very rare. So this is special. It's quite a unique sighting. Come on, mister. Show us your skills. There it is. Okay, it's quite high. I concede. He's still looking at it. It's hilarious. He's still looking up at it. Like he's... Oh, can I be bothered? Can I do it? Up, here we go. And he's going to go around the other side. Cool. Come on, you can do it. You can do it. Adrian, go a bit wider. He's gonna, it moves, it's gonna be a fast movement, I promise. Oh, come on. Taunting us. Awesome. Very, very cool. There we go. That's what we were after. A leopard in a tree with a giraffe kill. Oh, look at him posing. Screenshot time. You're not going to get many opportunities like this. And he posed beautifully for us. Oopsie. Oh, 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 oh. Graceful. I'm laughing at him, but it's not like I could manage that. So I perhaps really shouldn't. There's not many creatures that can match the grace of a leopard in a tree. But I will say that I feel as though the females tend to have slightly more than the males. Trying to work out which way is key. All the meaty parts are dangling now, and it's all held on by a thin strip of string, of skin. Yep, give it a pull. Use those triceps. Yeah, but you haven't figured out the physics of this, mister. Oh, perhaps he has. Scarlet, as a general rule, problem solving 101. As a general rule, when working out what a leopard can lift up a tree, it's usually their body weight. So essentially, that is maybe something slightly heavier than them, but that's unusual and difficult for them. So a big warthog often presents a large male leopard with difficulties. We've seen Tingana try and fail in the past. This giraffe was probably a tricky experience as well, unless he'd eaten quite a bit of it beforehand. So as a general rule, that's the sort of the most that they can lift up a tree. So if you've got a small leopard, they're limited. What's interesting is you get some leopards that are better at hoisting than others and are stronger than others. Karula, I've seen take an entire male impala without even emptying the stomach contents up a tree, whereas her daughter Shadow just seems to struggle to hoist her kills. She does do it, but very seldom. And we will never know the reason why. He's given up on the legs. He's going to try and finish off the neck. Balancing bottom. Sorry, excuse me, I'm just going to grab a little bit of water. The dust and everything is making me feel croaky. On a windy day. Now, Judas, the amazing thing about predators is their sheer ability to gorge themselves. So when we're looking at how much a leopard can eat, again, as a general rule, you're looking at 5, even 10% of their body weight. So a leopard like this, if he's about 80 kilograms, he could eat up to 8 kilograms of meat, possibly even more, if he's feeling really hungry. And when you see their stomachs bulging in the way that they do, you'll get an understanding of just how much they actually consume. Hyenas especially. It's really not an easy experience for him, is it? delicately, if somewhat ungracefully balanced. Take care, I think it's pretty evenly matched in terms of front claws and back claws playing the main role in climbing. I think that it's pretty balanced, but with a slight weight on the front foot, and that's because that is where the very powerful dew claw sits of the leopard. So that very powerful, essentially the leopard equivalent of the thumb, is its strongest claw. It's the most secure claw, and as a result, I would say that the front paws probably take a little bit more weight than the back. But if you watch the way that a leopard goes up a tree, it grips with its front paws, lifts its back legs up to where the front feet are, hooks on with the back claws, and then uses the back claws to launch the body forward, and then grabs on with the front claws again. So it's difficult to say exactly which claws do the most work. Gosh, I've really chosen us the best view here, have I not? Leopard bottom. I don't really want to reposition though, because it will put us right in everybody else's shots and photographs, and it's a little bit inconsiderate. This is such an exciting sighting for so many guests, and so quite a few people come to the Mara desperate to see a leopard. And it's a difficult thing for the guides to actually manage for every single set of guests that they get. So this is really lovely for them. It's going to put them in a good mood. The guests are going to be happy. They're going to be cheerful and full of stories. And just makes that guide's life that little bit easier. Oh, there goes the tuft of the tail that just fell off. Not his, the giraffe's, obviously. Forgive me, I'm not sure if I'm going to get your name right or not. I think I might have misheard what Faith said. I think she said Moodley, but she might have said Movie. And I'm uncertain, and I do sincerely apologize. Mooti. Okay, Mooti. So I got it wrong in both accounts. Did the leopard scavenge the giraffe? We won't know for certain. There is a possibility. There's a possibility that the baby giraffe died of more natural circumstances than being killed by a leopard. It's a possibility that it was weak from birth and perhaps something was wrong with it. It's also a possibility that it was killed by another predator, but it's unlikely, and the reason I say it's unlikely is because chances are the male leopard actually wouldn't have managed to steal it. There are so many hyenas here. A leopard would never steal from a lion, and while I have seen leopards steal from hyenas before, in fact I've seen Mvula, the gentleman of Djuma, I've seen Mvula steal from hyenas before, but they came back in greater numbers and they chased him away almost immediately. So leopards are unlikely to try and steal from a hyena unless they get very lucky and there's only one hyena. So chances are he killed this baby giraffe himself. And it's not unheard of. It's not common, but it's not unheard of. It has most definitely happened in the past. Now you won't be able to hear it, and unfortunately we won't be able to show it to you. But I can hear his teeth crunching as he grates away at what little is left of this particular carcass. And cars. Oh, mouthful of fur. Didn't like that very much. Surprisingly hard work for a leopard to finish off a carcass like this, or a lion. That meat is tough, especially after it's been hanging for a few days. I'm sorry, I'm looking at the time and I think we have to go. can make it back to camp. Do you think I can make it back to camp in 20 minutes? I don't think so. I think we're going to have to leave this amazing sighting. We've got a fair way to travel back, although looking at the other vehicles, so do they. They've got even further than I do. Rasping away the very rough tongue. By the way, I should have told you this before, and I really apologize for not doing it. Djuma is fighting off gremlins at the moment, so that's why we haven't been joined by our South Africa team. Okay, everyone, wave goodbye to our leopard. It's time for us to leave. All the other vehicles agree they are departing as well. So while we move out of this very special sighting, let's send you across to Brent and see how far he's got in his journey home.
Right. We had some good ones just before I went on leave. When it hadn't rained for a few days and you got the with Ellie's. Oh, epic.
Oh dear, it seems as though Brent couldn't hear what Faith was saying. Well, you probably would have just caught me saying, that was cool. Because it was cool.
Too cool.
Too cool, says Adrian. Too cool. So, Adrian, just so that you know, we are live now. Been a crash cut. You should have seen his face. The expression of surprise. No, we are. Brent doesn't have comms, so we are live again. I'm sorry, I'm not joking, I promise. What I was going to say was, first thing tomorrow morning, we'll try and come back here and we'll see whether or not the lovely, I think it's the shepherd's, is it the shepherd's bush male or the shepherd's tree male? Shepherd's tree male. He's in a shepherd's tree, so it works out quite nicely. Don't want to leave. Don't want to leave. But I have to. You go ahead, Faith. Hit me with him. Faith is just saying, since we're driving along, as it's an opportunity to answer some general leopard questions. Matt, yeah. A lion would be able to climb that tree. Lions are, especially here, relatively proficient climbers. They might not have the same level of grace or skill as a leopard, but they can and they do climb. So if a lion pride or a male lion were to come across that kill, there's a very good chance they would climb up and steal it. Now, a leopard, when faced with that situation, if he's in the tree itself, he'll move as high as he can onto the thinnest branches that he can, and the lion will pull the kill down, and that will be that. So it's the way that Mvula lost his kill. It often happens. And the lions in the Mara like to climb trees to escape the tsetse flies and to go up where there's a nice cool breeze. So lions in the Mara do climb. There was the most amazing thing that Taylor showed me of a lioness climbing a tree, but I can't remember now if she did it on purpose or if it was an accident, but she swung down and she had both front paws holding onto the outward limb, and the power in her arms, she was holding her whole body weight up and almost sort of monkey bar moving along the branch. It was incredible to watch. I've never seen anything like that. But yes, the leopard could, but the main scavenger is going to be the hyena, and hence why it pays to put it up in the tree. Okay, as we wend our way home, it sounds like Brent is able to hear Faith once again, so let's go and find out what he's got to say.
Well, I don't know what I said before because we were live and I didn't know. But we were looking at a very beautiful, beautiful scene with a single torchwood tree and some ostriches, and the ostriches went over the hill. But we are heading towards Survey Hill, which is that little hill over there. A good spot for lion, good spot for black rhino, and even the occasional cheetah. But while we're moving there, I know I'm going to have problems when I go down into this dip. So I just stopped and didn't move when I could hear Faith. So the wind is still blowing really, really strongly this evening, and it is an absolutely gorgeous evening. And who knows, hopefully we're going to find some slinking cats shortly. So as we move closer towards the little precipice here, we are going to possibly lose comms again. So I'm just warning everyone, Faith, you included. I think I didn't even manage to get a meter before I lost comms there. Now, remember everyone, we are working on this. This is a matter of progress. So we will be sorting out all of these problems as we spend more time in Kenya. Daniel, before I lose all comms and signal as I go through the dip, would like to know what is my favorite big cat. It's such a difficult one. I like them all, but cheetah probably. Cheetah or leopard or lion. Depends what they're doing. That's the trick. I love them all. That's the thing. There's only one animal I can say I love above and beyond all others, and that is the African wild dog. And that's that. So I'm going to keep moving so I can get up to the top of that hill. Hopefully we can find some lions or some black rhino around there. But as I say, we might lose comms and picture as we go forward through here. So you know what I'm going to do? Before we do that, I'm going to send you back across far away to the... Oh, actually, where's Jamie? She's probably about to the north of us at the moment to see what's happening with that beautiful big male leopard.
I missed the first part of that link. Sorry, Faith. But we're carrying on, and now I've realised we're actually quite late again for a change. It's pretty much deja vu on yesterday, except I'm coming from the opposite direction. Ah, I see. Okay. So it was Brent having problems with his radio. Ah, my favorite big cat. So difficult. I think Brent's taken the best answer. Leopard, lion, or cheetah, depending what we do, but depending what they're doing. That's kind of cheating, though. I think, but I have to say, the more time I've spent with cheetah here, and although I've spent a fair amount of time with cheetah in the past, never like this. Never in this day after day kind of context, really getting to know them, their movements, watching the musketeers and the way that they work together. I would say that elephants, I'm just looking at elephants. I would say that cheetah are climbing. They're in stiff competition with the leopards. My favorite sighting to date was one that we didn't broadcast, and it was in the middle of the day. There was no reason to. It was so unexpected, and I'm very sad about that. But my favorite sighting to date with any of the big cats, I think, was with Imani, the cheetah. And she was just so special. She was such a character. And it was just fully cemented. First she caught a rock. Quick look at the Ellies. First she caught a rock and looked at us as if she was just so pleased with herself. Yeah. Quick look. Hello, Ellies. Okay. Time check. Got 20 minutes. Okay, I need to go. Sorry, we've got to go. But at least we've spent some time with Ellies. Alright, let's head on out. She caught a rock and she looked at us. She just looked so pleased with herself. It was such a clear expression. It was flirtatious, almost. And then when we put our rain covers on and we opened up the little window, and she was staring, she was sitting on a termite mound, staring right in. What are you guys doing? Can I be involved? It's very cat-like. So I don't know, it's a difficult choice. And you know, with leopards, I've hardly ever seen them while I've been in the Mara, whereas on Djuma, we really got to know them. We know the individual leopards, we know their individual personalities, we watch the cubs grow up. I can't choose. Faith, what would you say? Faith is directing this afternoon's show in the Mara. Faith taking an easy way out there and saying it's too tough, she hasn't been around long enough. It's hard to believe that Faith arrived 2 months ago. Feels like she's part of the furniture already. Such a gorgeous evening. The light is all pink and it's got a pink peachy hue, but I can't stop to look at it. So tomorrow I think we'll come and have a look at the leopard. Hopefully he's still there. It's going to be touch and go with that amount left on the carcass, especially if he drops it. If he drops it off the tree and the hyenas get it, there's no telling where he'll be. But hopefully he's there and we can spend the morning with him. And then after that we're going to go off in search of Armani's daughters. Not Iman's daughters, Armani's daughters. The 2 cheetah sisters. Well, I've got some truly fantastic news for all of you. Remember how I mentioned that the Djuma team were bashing away the gremlins? Well, the fantastic news is that they've beaten them off. Noelle is out and about, and apparently she's found herself a feathered friend to show you.
Good afternoon, everyone. So sorry for the gremlins. We are live from Djuma Game Reserve. I'm Noelle, and on camera, Sebastian is back. Yay! We're all so excited. All right, don't forget, we are interactive. We are live. Hashtag Safari Live on Twitter, or you can follow us on YouTube chat. So that wonderful Neoni, that bird that we had in the background there, that is busy on that nest, is a Wahlberg's eagle. What's super interesting about this particular nest is that there's a dark morph and a pale morph with the chick on that nest. So because the pale morph has flown away, I just want to see if I can find you a photo so everyone knows what I am talking about, rather than having to guess or use the Google. Alright, the variations of Wahlbergs that you can get. Okay, so you get a buff morph, you get a dark morph, and you get a pale morph. So these two here are the ones that we would be seeing on this nest. It's the dark morph that's on there, and then the pale morph, which is the other one who's flown off. Now it was interesting, as we were sitting here waiting to get to chat to everybody, the one on the nest, the pale morph, started calling, and then flew off, and then right away the dark morph went in to go sit near the nest. Now, not on the nest, but near the nest. So that's very interesting. Now, it's finally warm. I know this morning was a little bit chilly. It's finally a nice warm afternoon. So I'm wondering if possibly the pale morph partner went off to go and find something to eat, and the dark morph is just keeping an eye on the chicks that are inside. So that big nest that we have back there, they will sometimes come back to every single season, and sometimes they will build in a new season, but they tend to like large trees towards the top, and they use quite large sticks to build their nest. And then what a lot of the eagles will do is they'll line the nest with a sort of soft leaf or a pungent leaf. So there used to be in areas like this blue gums, eucalyptus trees that were brought in from Australia. They're not around anymore, but those leaves were used a lot by large eagles to line the nest, to make it so that it smells aromatic and it helps keep some insects away from the very vulnerable chicks. Now, another type of aromatic leaf that they might use now, as I'm saying that and thinking it off my head, I actually am completely losing my mind, but maybe something small like basil or possibly the wild anise, but you never know. Sorry, we just have guinea fowl that are going a little bit crazy behind us. Seb and I have been driving around looking for leopard and lion. We unfortunately cannot show you the wild dogs that we found. So excited. Tristan had them this morning, and for some reason there's a gremlin that's sitting near those wild dogs, but we're going to keep an eye out and hopefully they move a little bit more east. They just need to move like 400 meters and then we'll get to show them to you, and I'm going to keep track of that for everybody as we go along. Alright, so now that we've had a good view at our Wahlberg's eagle, I think let's carry on. The sun's starting to go down. It's getting a little bit cooler, and see what we can find for you. Now we've got Ralph, who is over at a water body. He is new with us. I hope you guys are enjoying him as much as we are enjoying him. So let's head on over and see what he has to say.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome on board with me in the Sabi Sands section of the Kruger National Park of South Africa. We are just driving around, having a look what we can find. My name is Ralph Kirsten, and on the camera we have Wiem. Thanks, Wiem. We were just on a few lion tracks of the Styx Pride that we were actually looking at this morning as well, and we're just trying to work out for ourselves how fresh these tracks actually are. So we came up to this waterhole that we've just zoomed out of, and we're just trying to establish which direction they've actually moved in and how fresh the tracks are, and if they're actually worth following. So on the lovely waterhole here, as we pan over it, we can hear the woodlands kingfisher calling, and we did have some Egyptian geese, but they seem to have moved off, and the terrapins, the ever omnipresent terrapins, hanging around on the edge of the waterhole. But it's a little bit quiet here. We did have some steenbok moved. I have heard some news of a cheetah up on the Manyeleti boundary, but not quite sure if they're moving or not, so we will try and see if we can follow up on them. But in the meantime, we're just going to start off, carry on moving. We have been moving around quite a bit. It's quite an average heat today. It's at about 29 degrees centigrade, 84 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's quite it's not too hot, not too cold. So there is an opportunity for us to possibly find on some predators moving around at this time of day already. So let's move on. There's not too much happening here at the moment, but we're going to start up and carry on and see what we can find. So come along with me. Let's see what we can find. Please don't forget to join us on #SafariLive on Twitter and on your YouTube handle. Please fire away with the questions and throw any comments, and we will do our best to answer on our game drive as we continue. Here we do have a few of the tracks of the lions, so we're going to continue and see if we can find the Styx Pride. I think that will be great, because I haven't been able to catch up with them for a little while, so I'd like to see if I can find them. But in the meantime, I think we're going to cross back to the Mara with Jamie.
We are indeed, and I'm sure you've all been exceptionally kind, as you always are, in welcoming Ralph. It is a terrifying, terrifying thing. And of course, the Wild Earth way is to go straight in at the deep end and swim, and I'm sure that he's been doing some serious swimming. So we're on our way back home. I've got about my usual, I've got myself into the usual rush. So I've got about 10 minutes to get from the bottom of the hill to the top of the hill, which should be fine. And that is where we're racing off to. And at the end of another stunning, stunning evening. Adrian and I were just talking about how amazing those shots were of the leopards. I missed that. I'm sorry, Faith. I turned the radio down slightly. Do tourists have to wear what? Oh, you broke up. You broke up. You vanished. Ah, do tourists have to wear seatbelts driving in the Mara? No. No, they do not. I'm sure most of the vehicles are equipped with them for the times when they go out onto one of the main roads, if they go out onto one of the main roads. But no, they're not required to wear seatbelts. They are allowed to stand and look out of the roof hatches, but they are not allowed to sit on the roof. So that is the general rule. But otherwise, no, they're free to move around in the vehicles. The maximum, we spoke about it yesterday, I said the maximum speed limit was 40. Turns out it's actually 50. I saw it on a sign. I hadn't noticed before, so I've been really well behaved. I've definitely been going well below the speed limit. So the speed limit on the main roads is 50, but everybody drives with care. It's a safe way to move about. I can't remember if these vehicles came with seat belts initially. I don't think so. I missed who this question was from, but I really struggle with these questions. I really, really do. Scarlett. Scarlett. Sorry about that. Scarlett, I struggle to choose a favorite moment because I think of a moment like the one I described with Imani, and then I all of a sudden think about the extraordinary times that I've had spent with the Sausage Tree Pride and watching the little pale lioness show up all the other cubs, even though she's the smallest of the group. Then I think of the Angama Pride and the first time we saw those brand new cubs before anybody knew that they were there. It's tough to choose. Baby elephants, tiny baby zebras tottering around. I don't know how one begins to choose what has been my favorite moment. And it's too soon to choose. We're still here for a little while. We're still looking forward to amazing sightings. Even a zebra rolling in the dust is wonderful. No, don't stop. Just because I pointed you out, you got all shy. Oh, we're going back down the hill. Car went for a little bit of a roll. Faith, I don't know why, but your comms to me are breaking up quite severely. I think you tried to say something to me, but Whenever I'm ready, I can... I assume I'm sending you across somewhere to someone to say something. Let's go with that. Off you go then.
Well, it seems like our comms issues are continuing. I just got a live. So we're just showing you. So you can see there's some big hills in the distance, but in the foreground there's a little hill, Kilolobet in Maasai, but often nicknamed by the guides in the Mara. And just below there, nestled on the banks of the Sand River, is my favorite camp in the Masai Mara. And I'm quite excited to head home to go have an apple juice on the banks of the Sand River. So the sun is setting to the west in Tanzania. It's a gorgeous sunset, as you can see it going down. Look at that. If Sebastian Rombi were around, he would say something fancy in French, but I think he's at Djuma. So Jahawi, you've got to say something fancy in Swahili.
Wrong language.
Wrong language for fancy, or something simple then. What was that?
Maridadi kabisa.
Maridadi kabisa. Maridadi kabisa. Yajua. Sawa?
Hey, sawa.
So that was right, okay. What does that mean?
It's just beautiful.
It's just beautiful. It is beautiful, and it's been a beautiful day out in the Mara. And so Joey and I left at about 6 this morning, and we're going to head home for the first time today. But it's been wonderful. We spent some time with the musketeers, very fat and lazy musketeers, unfortunately. But that means tomorrow morning, hopefully, they'll be up and on the move and hungry. So we're going to head towards them. And if not, if they're still fat and lazy, we might take a meander down towards the Tanzanian border, see what's happening along the Sand River. But the wonderful thing about being out here is, depending on what we hear tomorrow night, our plans might change. We might hear the lions fighting or mating or what around us. So we never know what's going to happen next. And while we meander towards Strawberry/Kidalobit Hill and home, I can't hear who I'm supposed to link to, but the comms are breaking up very badly. And as I said, that's one thing we're working on. Hopefully we'll be able to have it sorted very soon. So off to whoever might be at Djuma.
Cursed. Cursed, if you can copy me, there's a lot of interference. I'm only getting maybe 1 out of every 5 words. Hello everyone, we are at Chitwa Dam in front of Chitwa Lodge, and we have our crocodile hatchlings. How fabulous. So I had some homework from you guys the other day because my file 13 wouldn't kick in, and we were wondering, some of us, about crocodiles and the difference between alligators, and we went over where they live and sort of where you can find them. So we find crocs here, but we don't find alligators, and you'll find crocs in Australia, Africa, parts of the Americas, and parts of Asia, and then alligators exist in the Americas. So the main difference that when you look at it is going to be the teeth. When a crocodile closes its mouth, you can see the teeth. With the alligator, you can't. And also the croc has a sort of V-shaped jaw as opposed to a U-shaped jaw of... an alligator has a U-shaped jaw instead of the V-shaped jaw of a crocodile. Excuse me. And then something interesting that I don't think that I ever knew, that I found when I was reviewing my crocodile alligator notes for everybody, was that crocodiles have lost the ability to have the salt gland on their tongue, and so therefore are confined to more fresh water as opposed to an alligator, which still has that salt gland on the tongue. Now, in my little brief research, I then started thinking about saltwater crocodiles in Australia, and if there's anyone watching from Oz, I don't know if you all know, possibly if maybe there's an adaptation that your crocodiles have kept with that saltwater gland. That would be interesting to know, and I will be giving myself more homework with that. We've also got our beautiful red-billed buffalo weavers still busy at their nest here that overhangs where our little hatchlings are. Can we hear that call there? And remember, red-billed buffalo weavers are what's known as gregarious. So they live in groups and they're very sociable. And they build these nests together and live inside of them together. And they breed inside of them. So it's unlike some of our other weaver species who just build nests sort of during our summertime and breed in them and then they don't live in them. Red-billed buffalo weavers are here all year round, living and breeding inside of these very messy sort of apartment blocks, if you will. Now, there's that one that keeps jumping up and down and looking, and I want you to notice that there's a very light colored beak as opposed to a red beak, and not as much white, a little bit of white, but not as much. So to me, that's looking like a female as opposed to the males that just landed there. There to the left, please show us your beak there, buddy. Of course, he's just showing us his bum, which is very, very red. There we go. Very red and a little bit more speckling. So to me, that's looking like two females checking him out. And sorry, Paula, you're so right. The one on the right does look like it's dancing. And Paula, what I was going to say is, to me, it looks like two females highly agitated with the male going, but you're not doing it right. You're not doing it right. Let me show you. Let me show you. But in nicer terms, it is kind of like dancing, Paula. I also have to just say thank you to all of you. In the 3 weeks that I've been here, the feedback and the comments I'm getting on my Instagram have been so sweet and so positive, and you all make me laugh every day and make me think every day. So I just wanted to say thank you to that. I appreciate it very much. Our hippos are being super lazy. I think our red-billed buffalo weavers are being the most active. We've got some of the hippos are here, and then some are farther down the dam. Now it's a warm afternoon, but it's not so warm that they couldn't be a little bit more mobile. But it's possible that because it was chilly this morning and then got nice and warm, that they're just enjoying their last little respite from the sun before it goes down in the water there. So I was super excited today. Blue Planet 2 has come out with the first 3 episodes, and I managed to watch the first episode, and there was a segment on walrus, and I was watching this female walrus on top of an ice bank, and they were talking about how, you know, the ice is melting and it makes it harder, but she was carrying her little one on her back, and I was like, oh my goodness, hippos do that. I found that very interesting. So whales will also do that. They'll put their little ones on their back and sort of lift them up, and it got me thinking about mammals that are more aquatic as opposed to terrestrial, and the need for the little ones, because they're so small and they still need to build up their muscles, to be helped by the mums. And something else that they mentioned about these walrus was that the connection between the two is very strong and forms a lifelong bond. And something that I've noticed, particularly with hippos in large pods, when I worked up in Zambia and South Luangwa, I mean, you get these pods of hippos that are 20, 30, 40 in number, sometimes more. The mums that have babies, the babies are very, very close-knit within the pod, within the raft. And then it's only when the males reach an age where they need to find their own territory that they sort of move off. The females stay within their territory there, and so the connections are very intricate and loving. And it was just a thought process that I had today that I wanted to share with you all. As far as I know, whales and hippos are related in the order Whipomorphia, but I'm not sure if walruses are in that same order. I don't know if there's a viewer out there that has that off the top of their head. It's not something that I unfortunately had a chance to look up today, but it is something, again, the homework continues. All right, what else do we have, Seb? I'm so happy Seb's back.
I'm happy to be back too.
Seb says he's happy to be back. There's a beautiful water buck over there. Scarlett, you're curious about how long crocodiles lay in the sun to get warm. Scarlett, that's a good question. So because crocodiles are ectothermic, they're poikilothermic, they need outside energy to warm up their internal body. So basically they're going to lie out in the sun for as long as it takes for their internal body to warm up. I'll give you an example. We as humans regulate our body temperature internally, but if you live in a cold climate, you know your body can only do so much before you need lots of cozy blankies and a fire and other sorts of things. So for me, when I'm super cold, I put on lots of layers, I grab a quilt, and maybe it takes me about 10-15 minutes to warm up, and then I'm hot again. For something like a crocodile, it's possibly going to take a little bit longer, and then it depends on the outside temperature of the day as well. So if it's a cooler day, they're going to be out for a lot longer, and if it's an extremely hot day, they'll be out for a lot less. Because remember as well, when they're using outside temperature, like the sun and or a very hot rock, to regulate their temperature, if they get too hot, they then need something cold to bring their temperature back down a little bit. So then they spend time water, sun, or cooler area, warmer area, depending. Joy, you're wondering where the other two babies are. Let me put my binos on Joy and have a look-see, because I've only seen the one. Joy, we also have this funny branch, or branches I should say, lying, and I can't actually get around because this is the edge of the dam, and Chitwa Lodge starts just here. But with my binoculars and with Seb's amazing camera skills, I just see the one. So Joy, two possibilities. One is they've been eaten by something, or they're just where we can't see, and we'll only know by checking occasionally here and there. As we know, not everything survives in nature. It's not how it works. Everything has a exit permit. So we will have to just keep an eye and see. But there's still one surviving, which is good, that we know of. And this wind is really blowing. So earlier we were looking at the other side of the dam, and there's a bunch of impala and waterbuck who are meandering around the other side, looking like they're trying to decide whether or not they want to come down to drink. So for some reason at this dam it is always extremely windy. So, oh my goodness, look at all those impala go. Seb, do you see that?
Yeah.
So either there's a male that's chasing them around and trying to herd them to get, oh there he is, yep, see, there we go, two males trying to chase the ladies around, basically saying, she's mine, no, she's mine. We saw quite a few impala lambs on the way up here, but I'm not seeing any at the moment. And then again, with this wind, they're probably just biding their time before they make it down for a little afternoon drink before it gets too dark for them to want to move too much. That light's really pretty over on that side. There's our water bucks with their circle bums. Natalie, you're asking what my personal favorite part of joining Safari Live has been. Natalie, I think for me, my favorite part is the fact that I've always wanted to learn more and more as you guide, and you do always learn more and more as you guide. I've actually had to change my guiding style slightly. So I'm going from having a lot of photographic clients and a lot of clients who have been on, 10, 20, 30, 40 safaris. And the way that you guide with that is very different from how you guide with viewers that are sitting at home who have also been on multiple safaris with Safari Live. But the access that you all have to information is huge. And so I now get to really concentrate on areas that I haven't had, well, I shouldn't say haven't had as much chance to, but haven't put at the top of my list. So insects and butterflies and all these things that I do get guests that really enjoy that, but not on the level you all enjoy it. And so I am a super nerd, and I'm just so excited about being able to harness more knowledge. And also Safari Live gives us a lot of time to be able to delve into the knowledge so that when we get back to you on camera, whether it's morning or afternoon, we can share those. It's also interesting for me because sometimes I'll not know something, and then you all will be able to help answer it. And I'm very much a learner that does well by hearing as opposed to reading, and so that sticks in my head and then carries on. So that, I think for me, that's been one of my favorite parts for sure. We have a male hippo who's come over to these female hippos, and he's up and down in this water every now and then, displaying and gesticulating. This female is sort of staring in his general direction where he keeps going down, probably not overly impressed. We'll see what she is up to. And then she's going to have a conversation with him under the water. All right, Ralph, it seems, has found some tracks, and as you know, I love tracking. Ralph also enjoys his tracking, so let's head over to him and see what he's found, and we will see what these cheeky hippos are going to do in the interim.
Welcome back, folks. We are just still continuing on these tracks. These lions of the Stick Pride, they've really been giving us the runaround. The tracks have been honestly going around in circles. We've been trying to work out which ones are the fresher of the lot. We seem to have sort of eliminated a few things and been getting into a little bit of an area where we think that they might be in. So we feel we might be getting closer to them. So we're slowly continuing, hopefully looking forward to maybe coming across them soon. But you know, it's very often that we don't find them at all, but we just need to take the clues as we can get them. So we're continuing on the best road that we do think that they moved along at the last fresh tracks that we did find. Now they could even just be lying down in one of these little drainage lines, and we drive right past them. We did something similar this morning where we were walking around in circles virtually, where the lions had been walking around in circles. They would be going in a northerly direction, and then we would find that they had turned around and gone in a southerly direction. But having said that, that's all part of the fun, isn't it? And that's why we do what we do. Now, I know that Noel was talking to you a little bit about the impala that we're running around there. And just before we joined you guys, we actually saw a little newly born impala. It must have been a maximum of 2 hours old. The mother was still licking it, was still very wet, and that is what we start to see a lot of now at this time of year. We're going to see a lot more of them, and unfortunately that also does mean it's unfortunate for the impala, fortunate for the predators, especially with the leopard. That now starts to become easy game for them, but that's hence the reason why the impala do start to drop all at a very similar time, giving a lot of those youngsters the chance to get through that young age and give them a better chance at survival. So we're still moving along here nice and slowly, just trying to see if we can maybe get a glimpse of these lions. Who knows, you know, very often when you're looking for a group of lion like this, you might find a leopard along the way or something very interesting on the way. So we keep going. Sinak, a question from Sinak: how do impala display when they want to mate? Well, the biggest display is obviously from the male impala. They are the ones that start fighting with each other, start to establish dominance, and they get the dominant male after the fighting and the rutting between males. Then take on a group of females and a little harem of his own, but the females will exhibit their readiness for mating by depositing their dung in a midden. The males will come along and smell what's going on in that midden and see the readiness of the females. Now when they start to smell the estrogen levels becoming very high within those middens where they drop their dung in one spot, that's when they'll obviously also start fighting between each other. So the major display actually comes from the males, which is in those battles, locking horns, but the females don't necessarily display as such. They merely leave a liquid scent mark, and that is how they will then display that they are ready for mating. So we're still trying to eliminate the little blocks, and we're going to keep continuing going on here. I really feel that we've got a good chance of finding these lions. However, we never know, and I just need to keep trying. VM and I are having a good look for them, and but while we carry on doing that, I think Noel has found something for you.
Our hippos are still cheeky, popping up every now and then. Here we go. This is one of the ones that was born maybe about a month ago. And Ralph, I do hope you find those lions. As you all know, tracking the Styx lions can be interesting. They like to zig and zag. Our friend is back, Sebastian. Sorry, while we were waiting with you guys, while you were with Ralph, we found this beetle. And we were trying to keep it, but then we were also trying to make it so that it could be focused on by the camera. Don't fly away, little beetle. Okay, so Senzo and I had the same beetle the other day, and we were trying so desperately to get it on camera for you, and it just didn't work. He kept flying away. And it's not a beetle, or I'm saying a beetle, but I don't think it's really a beetle. I'm just going to go with insect for now. And I have no idea. I have no idea what it is. I've never seen it before in my entire life. It has the neatest little feet that sort of curl up like those cloth shoes that have the little ping pong thing on the end, and it's got little mandibles and really tall antennae. I almost want to say it's an instar of a grasshopper or a locust species, but I can't decide. I'm sorry everyone, my English is absolute rubbish today. I can feel it testing the little hairs on my finger, but just look at the colors. Orange, orange, orange on the legs, black feet, and then sort of 70s style striping on the back there. The reason why I was thinking beetle is that almost looks like a carapace. Dude, please don't bite me. And then can you see, so you can see with the antennae that there's black bits, but then there's even longer bits coming off that aren't black, and he's moving them crazily. Because they use those to pick up pheromones. Now, traditionally, thick antennae usually means a male, and it helps pick up lots of pheromones from the females. But these are super, super, super long, so I'm wondering if with this particular species, this will denote a male because of the length. And just, I'm only wondering that because of the way that he's moving them. Grateful Dad, you read my mind. He's wearing elf slippers. And Grateful Dad, I now have a picture of Will Ferrell in that elf movie with those slippers on my face. Thank you. That's why the word ginormous is in... Oh, he's put one of the antennae in his mouth. Do you see that? He's put one of the antennae in his mouth. He's cleaning it or possibly testing something that's come on there. This is very cool. Yeah, and the word ginormous, which I like to use a lot, comes because that movie was such a hit that they put it into the dictionary. That's your fact for the day, everybody. I'm sorry, it's not a bush fact. It's a random Noel fact. I'm obsessed with this insect. Cursed is James and FC. All right, well, when I get home, I'm going to have to ask James about this. Look, he's cleaning his legs as well. Sometimes what you'll see when they're doing this sort of cleanse along their body is they're actually picking up larger particles that they then need to bring into their mouth to test. I'm absolutely fascinated right now. So this is, I mean, we were talking earlier about the things I love. The fact that this little oak has collected onto my knuckle and is now sitting still for this long, and we get to zoom in with the camera we have, and now I get to go home, and if I can't remember exactly what he looks like, I can review this material and have a look. I'm so sorry, Cursed, my game drive radio just blared in my ear. Spectra, it's missing a leg, so let's zoom in a little bit farther. I'm counting 3, 1, 2, 3 on this side, and on his other side, let me just turn him around. Oh, you're so right. He's missing, you see there, Seb? He's missing one there. Guys, I think when the game drive vehicle was blaring in my ear, I heard something about Hasana. If everyone would just excuse me for half a moment, I just want to triple check on this information, because we all love a leopard. Station with Hasana, come in for Noel. Let's go to Ralph with the Wahlberg's Eagle while I find out about this update.
Welcome back, folks, and here we've got that pale-formed Wahlberg's Eagle, and there he goes. However, I do have something a little bit interesting for you on the right-hand side. These guinea fowl, I'm just going to move a little bit forward for us. So just to have a look at these guinea fowl here. They were doing something quite interesting. Now, for a lot of people, they might be very common. But you know, some of the most common animals around the bush are some of the most interesting as well. Now, they were getting involved in a lot of the elephant dung that was there. They were scratching around in it, very much like the bush chickens. These guys move through the veld and very often go looking inside the dung of elephants, because a whole bunch of grubs and beetles and insects start getting into that fresh dung. So not only do elephants fulfill a big role in sort of keeping the bush open and transferring of plant material to different parts and breaking it down, but they drop that in different areas, and obviously then it does create food for grubs and dung beetles, and then the guinea fowl in turn come along and feed on that as well. So very important, that dung of the elephants. I'm just trying to see on the ground, also just where the guinea fowl walked past, it looks like it's red-billed quailias. I think VM has got us there a little bit closer. Those little birds jumping around on the bottom of the grass there, those are actually the most numerous bird on the planet. It used to be the passenger pigeon in North America, but they were hunted to extinction. So now these red-billed quailias, and there you see them fly up into the branches, they are the most numerous of all the birds on the planet. And they move around in aggregations like this. Allelomimetic behavior they exhibit as well, copycat behavior, all of them moving around like sardines in the ocean. When one moves in a particular direction, all of them follow, and they start to make like waves in the sky. You see now one came down and they all came down. Before that, one flew up. Maybe that was because they got a fright from something, and they all fly up. So that we call allelomimetic behavior. Allelomimetic, that's a nice term for you. Like yesterday we had the crepuscular. That was a nice word as well. Today we've got the allelomimetic, copycat behavior. So we're still on the lookout for these lions that we've been looking for, but we haven't had any luck as such on the lions. But that's when you're looking for something in particular, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're always going to find it, but on the way you always find interesting things. That's what the bush always throws at us. So we've been going from little waterhole to waterhole, trying to establish what these lions were doing, but they've really been giving us the runaround. So we're going to continue on our way a little bit. We did find that Wahlberg's eagle, we had these guinea fowl, we had some red-billed quailias. We're getting a little bit of calls. We're trying to listen out if we can hear some squirrels alarm calling, or even the guinea fowl. That's why we sit for a little while and wait to see if they start to pick up on any predators. Now there's a question that's just come in from Aidan, who is 6 years old. What do these birds eat? Now I assume that you were talking about the red-billed quailias. They are seed eaters. They've got a very thick bill, and that's enabling them to crush the sometimes quite large little seeds that they get, and to crush that open. The guinea fowl, if you were talking about them, they scratch around. They're like your chickens at home. They also eat little insects and grubs and whatever they can find on the ground. They do a lot of scratching and pecking on the ground. But the red-billed quailias, definite seed eaters with that very thick bill in the front. So Aidan, seed eaters for the red-billed quailias, and grubs and all sorts for the guinea fowl, the helmeted guinea fowl. Right. I think there's not too much happening here at this particular moment. Now the birds have moved off. I think let's start up, let's carry on. We will try and see if we can find these lions, but along the way I'm sure we'll find something interesting anyway. Right, let's go. Now it's starting to cool off as well, so I'm sure we'll get a little bit more action from the predators. It was a little bit warmer today than it was yesterday, so you know, they might just wait another hour or so before they start becoming active. Predators normally have a very high heart rate, so when it's hot they really do struggle, you know, because their breathing increases, and their heart rate also makes it that they do need to relax in the shade when it's very hot, otherwise they can be exhausted very easily. Right, so we're going to continue along a little bit, try to see if we can find these lions and possibly a leopard. But in the meantime, I think Noel has something along those similar lines.
Hello, so Hassana is at Little Gowrie. He's near the lodge. Sorry, I just want to stop because we've got a beautiful male Nyala that's just behind me. He's at the lodge, but it sounds like he might be moving towards the boundary. I couldn't catch what boundary, so my plan is to head towards our boundary with Little Gowrie and see if maybe we get lucky. Seb and I also heard Impala's alarm calling in this area. And so we came to have a look and see, but they've stopped calling, so we think it's possibly for the sundowner stop that they had over on the airstrip. So our male Nyala is looking gorgeous. Walking through, that is a big male Nyala. Remember, he's one of the spiral-horned antelope. He's part of the family Tragelaphinae. So if you look at the way that he walks, putting one foot directly behind the other foot, making what's called a track-on-track walking sequence. Now, Seb, I know this is super ADD, but there's a raptor being mobbed quite heavily up at our 3 o'clock, and I'm hoping we can get that before it flies off. See that? So basically that raptor has gotten too close to a nest and is now being chased off. To me, look, it looks like a Wahlberg's that's possibly being dive-bombed by a drongo, but yeah, I'm definitely going to say drongo. Yeah, Wahlberg's dive bomb being mobbed by a drongo. Fork-tailed drongos have the biggest cojones of any of the birds I've ever seen. I mean, they're tiny, tiny, tiny little birds, and they will go after Wahlbergs, but they'll even go after something like a black-breasted snake eagle, which is much bigger. I mean, they've got no scum. They go for it. Fabulous. All right, there's our Nyala again. Absolutely gorgeous. Now, what's interesting about male Nyala to me is that they're not territorial, but they form these little hierarchies. And when the big males like this are together, they puff themselves up and they do these funny little dances with each other, basically saying, I'm bigger than you. And so I'm wondering where his other males are that he would normally not necessarily be with all the time, but they tend not to be lonesome creatures, very similar to a kudu. They are cousins of the kudu. I mean, look, you'll find them alone every now and then, but especially when you're close to water like this, usually you'll see more. So I'm probably guessing that farther along down the way in the direction that he's going is where there might be some females or some other males. This is a beautiful, beautiful male. A bit of mixed feeding as well. Grass and leaves. Not as much as a mixed feeder as, say, Impala, but they do very well for themselves. They don't lose condition easily. He hears something. I believe it's the guest going for a sundowner from Chitwa on the airstrip. He's just double checking just to make sure everything is good. All right, I think let us stick with our plan and meander towards our boundary with Little Gowrie, just in the off chance that Mr. Hassana will come and play nicely with us and want to be seen. I have not seen Hassana in a very long time. Oren, you're wondering if lions would eat nyalas. I have seen lions eat nyalas. When the drought was happening last year, I was at a reserve that is not far north from here, and we had a pride that was around our lodge a lot. And one morning, we got calls of a distressed buffalo. We shoved our guests on the vehicle. We drove out there, my tracker and I, and we got 3 of the young lionesses. They were about 2.5, just under 3 years old, killing a buffalo. Then we watched this whole thing, and it's time for other people to come in and view. And so we, sorry guys, I'm going around the corner. I don't want to drive us off the road, excuse me. So we left them, and as we leave them, maybe about 1 kilometer away, we pick up the older females of the pride. There's 4 of them. And they started hunting with some wildebeest. That didn't happen. But then just as they're about to head down towards where they can hear and smell that their youngsters are feeding, this male nyala about that size walks across the road, and they just go for it in perfect unison and took it down. So they will definitely do that. But remember, with predators, they have certain species that they prefer over others. For that particular pride, that was a situation where it's like, look, this is right in the area we need it to be. This is doing exactly what it's doing. Let's go for it. The opportunity is here, and that's why they went for him. That pride in particular really liked full-grown zebra, full-grown buffalo, giraffe, and every now and then a full-grown kudu. Yeah, good question. Sorry guys, as I'm driving, I'm just checking in the road in front just to check for tracks, because the last thing I want to do is drive over anything fresh that could possibly help us find anything that we are looking for. I also don't want to hit Seb in the head with a tree branch. He would be very cross. And his daughter Casey would say, Auntie Noelle. She would be very cross with me. Seb's laughing at that.
I think Casey would actually laugh.
Seb is saying Casey would probably laugh that he got hit in the head with a branch. Shame Seb. We've got lots of elephant tracks, lots of impala tracks, lots of Nyala tracks, some tortoise tracks. And beautiful light right now.'re going to have a really stunning sunset. I know you all got a beautiful sunset, I believe, with Jamie up in the Mara. But we're so lucky in our afternoons these days. You all get two sunsets. You get Mara sunset and you get our sunset down here in Sabi Sands. There's another male Nyala. Looking quite pretty. Also quite a big male. There, he's raising up his fur a little bit. Not too much. The territorial moves that they do is one of my favorite things to watch in the bush. I mean, they raise that whole crest up. It's a type of piloerection. I know we talk about piloerection quite a bit when we're talking about animals being cold, but also something like a brown hyena will do that, and then these Nyala do it as well. That light's just hitting him nicely. Notice the big ears, very similar to a kudu. The better to hear you with, my dear, when they're in the thick bush. And because of the slight breeze, stopping every now and then, holding them up, putting them back. Sean, you're wondering if sundowners have security details to prevent incidences. So Sean, usually it's just the guides that are there. So there's a couple different types of sundowners. You get regular sundowners, Sean, where everything's on the vehicle and the guide, and if there's a tracker, guide and tracker stop and just set it up, and they're the ones that keep an eye out. And then you get the type of sundowners where it's set up by the lodge, which is a special sundowner that's more elaborate and might have special cocktails and a special arrangement out in the bush. And everything is dependent upon which lodge it is and how they function, but usually it's the guides that take care of it. So look, I mean, most of the time when we do any type of sundowner, we do a sundowner in an open area where we can see all around us, but I've had everything come and want to join us in a sundowner. I've had lion, I've had leopard, I've had elephant, I've had rhino, I've had hyena, I've had ooh, hello Steenbok. Sorry, it just burst from the bushes behind us. I've had everything, and it's just making sure you're listening and paying attention. The chances of an incident happening are small, right? So 99.9% of the time, the wildlife and the game drive vehicles interact fine. It's a very rare occasion. Sorry. It's a very rare occasion that that something were to happen. And remember, especially for a predator, we as humans are not food unless they've eaten us before, and usually if that's happened in a game reserve, people know about it and that animal is removed, because then it's going to keep doing that. Once they figure out that we're edible and easy to catch, the jig is up. And so that being said, along with the fact that guides are very well trained, I mean there's all sorts of different levels, but very well trained and very, very competent at what they do, the chances of an issue at a sundowner is very small. Plus your guests are usually inebriated at some point, so even if something were to start happening, it's very easy to get them on the car and settle the situation before anything. I think that the most close call I've had, we were having sundowners, the sun had already gone down, it was getting slightly dark, I was just about to get the guests on the car, and a big male elephant came to investigate. We just stood very still, and he came and he smelled where the snacks were, And then he was like, all right, it's you, because he can't really see, and then he just moved off. So every scenario is different. So, yeah. Oh, sunset. Okay, so sorry, when I turned my head earlier, there was a little bit of a snort from that Nyala, and we had that steamboat that ran off, so my cat senses went crazy, and I was like, oh, maybe there's a leopard. Unfortunately, I think they were just having a bit of interaction, different antelope species. Ralph is still busy tracking, and he would like to show you if he's found anything, so let's head on over to him.
Yes, welcome back, folks. We've still been looking for those lions, but I think for the time being we're not going to find them in that particular area, so we've decided just to move off in a little bit of a different zone, just to see if they might have moved into a totally different area and we're just missing something. So look, I don't think we're going to find him. If we do, we might be lucky, but we're just enjoying ourselves, driving along down the road. Now, I know that you were chatting about drink stops with Noel, and while we're driving along down the road here, seeing what we might find or bump into along the way, I'll just share a small little story that happened with me on one of the game reserves when I had some guests, and we were at a very similar time as now, stopping for drinks breaks. We were all having nice chats. We got the table out, we put a lovely tablecloth out, and we put all the drinks out. Everybody was having soft drinks and alcoholic beverages and enjoying themselves nice and quietly near to the vehicle. We were about 5 meters away from the vehicle, behind the vehicle, and we were having a nice chat, but keeping our voices down. Obviously, as you do in the bush, you do still need to be aware of what's going on around you, because you never know when something's going to pop out. And lo and behold, somebody went to the front of the vehicle, I don't know, maybe just to have a look, and there was a whole pride of lions coming up the road. So we had to leave the drinks table and everybody had to just jump onto the vehicle, and the lions continued to walk right next to us. They didn't want to go off the road. They thought that was going to be too difficult, so they were literally brushed up right next to the vehicle. I think it was about 7 or 8 of them. They all brushed right up next to the vehicle, and off they went. And literally about 20 meters behind us, behind the drinks table, they lay down. So obviously we were stuck in a little bit of a dangerous situation, because we couldn't get out the vehicle to go and get our drinks back. These lions had now laid down and started to begin to roar. So it was really, the guests absolutely enjoyed themselves. I thought it was amazing, but we literally had to leave that table with all the drinks, with all the snacks. After about half an hour of waiting for these lions to get up again, it seemed that they might have stayed there for hours. So eventually we had to drive off and leave our table with the drinks and everything and the snacks, and we had to go back for dinner. I then returned after dinner and found that the lions had obviously got up and moved off, but I tell you what, I think those guests really had a story to tell after that, and so do I. I'm telling it to you now. So that was a very nice story around a drink stop that I had, and this light now is starting to dip nicely, and very similar around that time of day that you normally stop for your drink stop. In South Africa, that's why we call it sundowners, as the word suggests. There's a question from Paula, or a comment from Paula, saying that she thought that the lions were going to jump onto the table. Well, unfortunately, we didn't have any biltong or dried meat in our snacks department. Otherwise, I think they would have been all over that table. For some reason, that evening, because normally we do put on some dry meat, and I think that would have attracted those lions straight to the table, and they would have been all over it. But I don't think that they really liked salted peanuts and pistachio nuts and those kind of things. So we had crisps and pistachios and that kind of stuff. So I don't think they were that interested, and I don't think they were interested in the gin and tonics either. So yeah. But absolutely, if that dried meat had been on the table, they would have been all over it. So Yes, folks, that's what the bush is all about, eh? And very often it's not about the destination. It's not about racing around, going from big 5 animal to big 5. This is what it's all about. It's about the journey. What do we find along the way? The smells, the sounds, the sight of the sun setting. You know, it's just it's those things that really make this place special. And the wilderness really starts to get a part of you as a person, you know. And if you've ever had the privilege of being in the low-veld section or region of South Africa, or in any wilderness areas for that matter, it really does make us humans really feel that we're really missing something, or we're really moving away from something, because these areas are getting smaller and smaller, and you know, as the population of humans grow, we push wilderness to the side, and we don't like to be a part of it, except when we really experience it. Then we almost feel like we need to get back to it. I think it's really sad how areas are disappearing, but I will instill in all my guests and in all the viewers that we need to fight to try and save and protect these wildlife areas for the next generations and for ourselves as well, because it is such soul food to drive around smelling all these natural smells, listening to the wildlife, and being able to see big animals is a bonus. But it's not only about those big guys, it's about the small guys, about the birds and the insects and the little tracks that they leave behind. And everything that starts to mingle in and live together in harmony, it always finds a balance. But when we get involved, we like to upset that balance because it's not convenient. Well, you know what, we need to find our convenience within the wildlife, and once we do that, we'll really find that balance. Anyway, I'm not going to harp on about that. We're still continuing, we're still trying to see what we can find. Okay, so I'm going to continue on here on my lovely little sunset meanders, trying to still see what we can find. Maybe we'll see some big cats, maybe not. That's not what it's about. But in the meantime, let's see what Noelle has got to show you, possibly. Maybe she's found something, maybe not.
Ralph, you're so right. It is not about the destination. It's totally about the journey. And viewers, as you will know, I always set up some sort of scenario where we're going to try here, and there. It never goes that way. It's never gone that way in my whole career. Basically, whichever way your bonnet is pointing, and that's what you will see. And we are witnessing a gorgeous sunset. Now, there's some woodlands kingfisher calling in the background. There's a few other birds going on, so I'm going to go quiet for a little while, and we're going to enjoy this magic moment. Breathtaking. I always love this time of night, just as the sun's going down, and then just after it goes down we still have that little bit of light. All the bird calls, it's basically bush life going to sleep, but bush life also waking up. It's a very special time. It's also similar in the morning, where just before sunrise everything's waking up or again going to sleep. It's sort of the turnover period. But the colors that you're seeing now, I mean, this is what it actually looks like. I once had a photograph that I took of a sunset, and I sent it back to some family, and the family member said I had to take it into the Photoshop place to have it redone because the colors were wrong. And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, I wonder if something happened. Basically, the colors, she couldn't believe that those colors were the real colors. She thought that I had tampered with it, and I had added a little bit here there just so it looked exactly as when I saw it when I took the photo. But these colors that we get are something that you don't really see anywhere else. And it doesn't matter to me how many sunsets or how many sunrises I witness on this continent. I'm either filled with absolute joy or sometimes just overwhelming emotional feelings. And I know I'm going on a little bit of a funny tangent, but we talked about it the other night. The nature makes you kind, and when you're out in nature all the time, the kindness wells up. And then you get moments like this where you just are so thankful and so grateful for getting to be where you are. And that's the moment I'm having right now. Maybe it's because I'm a girl. I don't know. Seb, it's so beautiful. Seb's got a little tear streaming down his face.
Yeah,
so.
whatever.
No, but it is. It's absolutely gorgeous. Andreen, you're very welcome. I also just love sitting and listening to the sounds of the bush. Can we all hear the woodlands in the background? Oh, now of course. There he goes. We're only going to have the sun for sort of another 5 to 10 seconds, so I think let's watch it just disappear behind the Drakensberg Mountains. Tom is saying that Kingfisher's making him nuts because he thinks he's getting a message on his phone. So basically he set his phone, his ringer, to be a woodlands kingfisher. I love it. So Tom, when I ever go to town, most of my bush friends have a bird call as their phone call for just in case they forgot to shut their phone off when they're around guests. Yeah. So I'll be in a restaurant somewhere having coffee in our tiny, tiny little town of Hoodspray, and these phones will go off, and I'm going, but it's winter. Why is there woodlands going on? Or like a Deirdre's cuckoo. I totally feel you. That's fantastic. Okay. Let's see what maybe cheeky Hasana's come across, maybe not, you never know. But Rolf has some mammals that are busy on a little bit of a fight, so let's head over to him and see what he can show us.
Yes, folks, we've just stopped here with a couple of these impala, and I know that some of you have been saying that the woodlands kingfisher call is driving you nuts because it's reminding you of your cell phone. Well, that's not such a bad thing, because if you've got that on your cell phone, well, good on you. Now, I don't know if anybody, if any of you viewers were with me yesterday on the afternoon game drive, I was chatting a little bit about what these impala are up to at the moment. It normally seems quite strange for people that the impalas start fighting, you know, at this time of year, and it sort of comes into a little bit of a false rut. So I'm just going to repeat myself just for the people that weren't with me yesterday, and while they're exhibiting this behavior, they come into a little bit of a false rut because of the females that have dropped the youngsters, the babies. So they've got an increase in estrogen, and that then obviously triggers an increase in testosterone in the males, because they then, you know, instinctively start thinking with that increase in estrogen that it's time to rut again. So that's hence the reason they start to fight again, trying to establish dominance within the bachelor herds. And they have moved off just a little bit there, so they're a little bit out of view. They're coming back a little bit now. Impala, what they do is throughout the year they'll generally move in these bachelor herds, and then in the breeding herds, which is the females with the youngsters, both female and male, young males. Now these impala have just run back. It's possibly because there's something that they've spotted. They're back to their fighting again. Maybe not. So they'll stay in these groups of the bachelor herd males, and they sort of then establish their dominance between each other. And when the time comes for that rut to start again, they will then be well practiced and well versed in the art of fighting and locking horns. And you know, they need to really work on those neck muscles. because that's where all the fighting then starts to come through, and that's where the muscles need to be really strong in the neck. However, when the rut starts, the predators, they really enjoy that time as well. So there's two very good times of year for the predators in terms of food around the impalas, because when the females are dropping young, that's an excellent time for the predators to get some easy meals. And another time is the rutting season. That's normally around April, May. When the males start to lock horns, they literally see red. They don't care about anything except fighting with each other. And that goes to the point where they're not even worried about predators. They really do not care about anything else except fighting with each other. And the predators obviously take advantage of this. I've actually seen one of my rangers on a reserve that I was looking after recently. He was at the rutting season. At the time of the rut, he was sitting in a reasonably similar situation as this, but in the full rut, watching the impala rutting, and the one raced off and the other one was after him from behind, and he didn't even worry about the vehicle and ran and jumped straight into the vehicle with the guide in the front seat, hit into the door, and the second animal didn't worry about him jumping into the vehicle. He jumped straight in behind him. So you had these two sets of horns imprinted in the side of the door, and this guide had to explain to the owners why these impala had smashed his door. But obviously I was there, I witnessed it, so I was able to bet his cause and say that it wasn't through negligence of in any way whatsoever. It was literally the impala seeing red and chasing each other around. Willow Wanderer asking the question, when do impala start to rut properly? Well, it's generally around 2 or 3 years of age. Once they are sort of pushed out of the herd by the females, they will then join these bachelor herds, and then they start with this sort of play fighting. So they do sort of ease themselves into it. They will hang back a little bit from the more dominant males. It's only the ones that sort of stand their ground, and obviously at that sort of age of 3-4 years old, that's when they are beginning to be strong enough to push back to the bigger males and actually literally try to vie for dominance themselves, because the ultimate goal is for them to be able to take a group of females for themselves. Now, something quite interesting around that rut as well, and it contributes to the overall success of impala, amongst a whole host of other reasons, is that when the impala actually establish dominance in that bachelor herd during the rut, they will then take on a group of females. However, they are not able to maintain that group of females for a very long period of time. The reason being is that they're not concerned with anything else except mating with the females and chasing the other males away. So they literally don't drink, they don't eat, or very little thereof, because of this amazing activity that they've got to continue with, and so they lose condition very quickly. And in that time, there's been a new male established dominance in the bachelor herd, and he's then able to push that male out that's lost condition. And so this cycle continues through the breeding season, and you can have 5, 6, even 8 different males establishing dominance over that group of females. This ensures a very good mix of genes. It's not only one male that takes over the group of females, and within the males it also ensures that there's a good turnaround for them as well. So this is one of the very good reasons why impala are so successive, and as I go along with different game drives with the viewers, if you guys keep viewing in, I will continue to give you a whole host of different reasons why impala are so successful. They are definitely targeted a lot by many predators, but they're still coming out as one of the most numerous mammals around the plains. So they must have successful strategies, and that definitely is one of them. Right, I think let's start up and we take just a little bit of a drive onwards. We see what else we might be able to pick up on. I'm still hearing that woodlands kingfisher. There's nothing particularly happening around at the moment. So I'm going to start up, I'm going to move off and just see if we can find anything else interesting. But let's also see what Noelle's been driving around trying to find. I think she might have found something, but that's not always sure. Hey, we know how that works.
No, it's still there. It's still there, Seb. We have a woodlands. We're going to try and show it to you. There, no, he's there. Hold on, everybody, hold on. Stand by one. Don't fly away, please. Tell me when.
Bit more. Yeah.
So woodlands are insectivorous, and because it's cooler, the insects are out. There, yeah, Seb, well done. Are out just before it gets a little bit too dark. So this one's out having a dinner. He's having dinner time. Yes, beautiful. You can see the colorations here really nicely. You can see those azure blues. You can see when he turns his head. Well, when he turns his bum, there's the azure blues. Well, that's what I think of you too, sir, kindly. When he turns his head back, you're going to notice a red top to the beak and a black bottom. That is an extremely defining feature, an important feature of a woodlands. So even if you're confused about, what are we looking at, that would be something that is important to look at. Now, most of the kingfishers we get here are insectivorous, as opposed to actual, as opposed to actual fishermen. I'm just going to head on over to the book. Okay. Oh, here we go. So you get the woodlands kingfisher that has all of this blue with the red and then the black bottom on the mandible, okay? Then when you go to a gray-headed kingfisher, this one here, Seb, thank you very much, the blue is not as much, there's black, and the beak is all red there, okay? For me, in this area, these would be the two that you could confuse. If we got mangrove kingfishers, which we don't, it is more similar to a woodlands. And notice it's also a double red mandible, okay? This one here, I believe in Kenya and Tanzania they call it rufous-bellied as opposed to a gray-headed. And then I've heard the woodlands kingfisher, when I was up in either East Africa or Zambia, I can't remember now, called a Senegal kingfisher. So the names change wherever you go. And this guy here, insectivore, as I said before, and so is the gray-headed. So there we go, there's a little kingfisher love for you. It's amazing during summertime when all these migrants come back, because it just adds a huge amount of content to our bird life, and and the colors that they have. Sorry, Kirst, go ahead. Veronique, I knew this question was coming. You guys can obviously tell Seb and I know each other. So myself and Seb and Tristan and Sebastian's wife Shannon all did a small stint together at Chitwa. So Shannon and Tristan worked there for a while, and Seb was actually working at Wild Earth at that time, and I came and did some freelance work at Chitwa. And this was 6 or 7 years ago. So we've all gone off and done various different things, and then within the past, Seb and Shannon moved back to the area sort of 2 years ago now, hey Seb? Yeah. 2 years ago. And then I was so happy because they're back in the same area as me, and then Seb came back to Wild Earth, and Tristan was at Wild Earth, and then Seb and Shannon got me into Wild Earth, and now we're a big
family.
Yeah, Seb's saying we're a big family. It's interesting in the bush when you meet people and you connect with people, you can go years without seeing them, and then you reconnect, and it's like no time has passed. I mean, we live such mobile lives, and have such different things happening, but we reconnect as well. All right, let's have one last look at our beautiful little sky here just before we have to leave you. Beautiful colors pulling through. All the birds are starting to call out. Going to sleep, going to sleep. Absolutely stunning. It's been a wonderful afternoon. I'm so sorry about the gremlins from our side before, but from myself, Sebastian, Ralph, VM, all the crew in the Mara, Jamie and Brent, everybody at FC, thank you so much.